Pencil Power. Why, hello there, art adventurers. In this episode, where it's kind of a spiritual follow-up, but also a standalone on using and choosing and using colors to make, especially like a more colorful style that isn't overstated, oversaturated, that actually feels grounded, but still feels vivid and lifelike. And I will specifically be talking about, tips and tricks and tools to use in Procreate, but this could work in Photoshop or any other digital medium. May not, there's a different techniques and stuff when it comes to traditional colors, so while some of the theory will still hold, it won't be as applicable there, but still hopefully interesting. And we can go ahead and maybe even just go ahead and color this character that we drew up in our World of Chibu um, design thingy. I know how to draw chibi characters video that I did right before this. So yeah, let's go ahead and work on her. And I'm gonna use, sometimes I like to do a clean inking, so I'll go to this, I like this, where is it? Ink bleed. It's got a little bit of texture, and I might go all the way black just for the first pass and start to do some inking like this kind of thing, and really just go and like do the line work first. But another technique I've been using, so that's what you see in this character. Another technique I've been using, which I've really been enjoying, is more of a painterly approach. So you can see that here, you can see it in this character. This is probably kind of what we'll do today, is mess around with a more painterly brush-like approach. This one is also done in that fashion. So let's go ahead, and instead of inking her in that way, I'm going to choose a pretty chunky brush. These Loish brush sets. This is her free brush set. And I like this oil pastel. I made it so it tapers a little more. But yeah, you can use anything that has, I would say, a full opacity. So not something that's, so let's go to a color like a bright red. Not something that's see-through like that, but something that when you put it down, it's just the full color like that. I think that's much better to learn from. And you'll see where we can start. See how there's this overlap right here? We'll see how you can use the opacity later on in this process. But to start off with, go with the bold colors so you'll really learn and be I think, very intentional about the colors that you're choosing. So I like to start maybe with like a gray color to do an outline. And just, oopsie, let's put the full opacity on full, and we've got a new empty layer here. And we're just going to start to, you can just extremely roughly outline the character. I'm going to do this extra quick for the sake of just doing this tutorial and kind of, getting the ideas across more than trying to create any kind of finished, beautiful product. Okay, so let's just actually focus on just the head for now, and then we can, and I want to add some other elements so that we can talk about like how to use different like colors throughout. So let's give her maybe like a robe. So we'll keep it kind of simple, so that'll all be in one color, but let's break it up with a belt on her robe. A little bit thinner here. Okay. Belt on her robe and like some cuffs. Okay. This is definitely not the most inspired, design, but it will suffice for our purposes today. I might actually come back and rework her, or we'll see how she evolves. So we've done a whole outline like this, right? The next thing I'm going to want to do is to come in and start blocking in some colors. So you could start anywhere, but I think, I'm going to start with the skin tone. I think that's a good place to start. So with skin tones, you really want to keep things in this area over here, right? And in the orange, yellow to red range. But of course, orange and coming out and desaturating. So one of the main things is you almost never are going to use colors in this area. in the very saturated. It'll still look quite saturated if you stay not passing this line right here. So right now we'll choose a color, and one thing we can do is we can always alter it. Usually I paint things on different layers so that I can alter the colors. Let's just go ahead and put it down now. So when I'm putting this down, I'm feeling like it does feel a little bit gray and flat. So I'm going to come in here. You know what, let's put this on another layer so that we can demonstrate, and we'll merge them down. So even just going like this, keeping it rough, we can go back over it again and just coloring in the area like you would color anything else in. Okay. One thing you'll start to develop is an eye for like, okay, does this feel, you know, too pink? Does this feel too bright? Or how, you know, those kind of questions. So let's go ahead into our this little wand with the magic wand over here, like we have with our character. Go into hue, saturation, and brightness, and we can see, okay, what does it look like with more saturation? What does it look like with less? And kind of even just go like this to kind of break it up so that you can see with fresh eyes and see, okay, where does the saturation feel good? Maybe around there. Same with brightness. Darken it, brighten it, and then, okay, where do I want my brightness to be? And hue is very subtle. So you can see here it's getting very green, here it's very red. Where is that nice hue? Maybe something like this. Saturating it a little more, brightening it up. Okay. See, this is even maybe a little too saturated, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and just merge these down. So choosing a hair color, like let's say you want to do something colorful. Going in here, let's say you want a bright red hair, right? Instead of staying up here, because this is going to be much too strong, we can maybe highlight with that a little bit, but keeping it less saturated on the left side. And just so you know, there's different color wheels you can use on Procreate, but I really like this classic one because you know it's less saturated on the left, more on the right, darker on the bottom, lighter on the top. So somewhere around here, that feels a little too dull. Let's move it over and just kind of inch it over and see, does that feels a little bit too bright. Bringing it down. Maybe we go fully, let's see, full, like very light. Okay, so see, this doesn't feel like a super bright, colorful red, but you'll see that as we continue to color out the whole character, she will start to like have that, you know, it'll feel more bright and saturated and exciting than when you first started. So you can see this kind of coming together already a little bit. Okay. So the next thing is, let's choose a color for the flower. So you can use these harmony wheels and say, okay, this would be the opposite color basically. So that's going to create a very strong complementary aspect, and it's really going to give it a lot of popping. Then you can click here and go, let's do split complementary. No, let's actually do triadic here. Let's see this. So then, oh, I actually want to be selecting this color for that. It's going to suggest this green, which again I think is a little too saturated and strong, and this blue, which again I think is a little too saturated and strong. So let's go back to our classic, and let's try again, keeping to the left side of this where it's less saturated. You'll see how we can end up saturating this at the end, but let's say we wanted to go with the blue is not necessarily the best because I'll show you. I think if you go like this and then go to, how do you do this color? Oh, here, saturation. So you can see that here, when you put it in this blending mode, you can't actually see the difference between these two colors because they're the same brightness, they're the same value. So let's go here and select this color. Oops. And look over here. See how high up it is? Now let's go and select the red color and click over here. It's close to the same height, and the value does actually make a difference too. I mean, the color itself can make a difference. So instead, and it's okay for this to happen if there's enough contrast in the colors themselves, like green and red, for instance, are opposites. And so that might stick out better, even though it's pretty similar, but you can actually see it here. And when giving it an outline, that'll obviously stick out more. And then, like, say for the center, see, I'm still choosing colors in this left side. But as you can see, there still feels very, very colorful. Now, if I hadn't been doing that, if I'd been choosing colors more saturated on the right side, it would look something more like this. And you can see how that, I mean, is technically brighter, but it doesn't actually read to the eyes as that much more bright than this. Because we're using these fun colors, and it's really helping things pop without having to push that saturation to an extreme degree. And then, so how do you continue? So we've already got two colors, this green and this red. Let's say we decided that's our color scheme. And the color scheme doesn't have to be like something where you think about on a theoretical level too deeply, but the important thing is to reuse colors. So you can kind of like be free about what colors you choose, but then just try to reuse them. So for her, at this point, I'm going to say, okay, what color do I want the eyes? The main colors that would support what we've done so far would be green and red. So I can try taking the exact same red and putting it in the eyes. That's kind of cool, but it's a little bit flat. Let's try with the green. I quite like that. And then there's a little bit of yellow too, so let's actually try with the yellow. That's cool too, but it blends a little too much with the skin tone. So I think going in a green direction will be fun for her. And I'm actually going to take a darker. So when you go darker, usually you want to actually move to the right a little bit. So down and to the right diagonally. Give a little more saturation when you go darker because it's less, the colors are less obvious. So we could do something like that. That does still feel pretty flat. And the reason is because I didn't move the hue at all. So when you go to a darker color, you also might want to go cooler. So towards the blues in this case. So a little bit cooler where it's still green and darker like that. Now when I come in and add that color, if you can compare the eye on the right to the eye on the left, this eye on the left feels very flat. But this eye on the right has a little more pop because there's that contrast in the coolness. The colors actually have a little bit of cool, warm contrast in there. And here's a place where we could lower the opacity and put a little bit on top there maybe. And then sample that color. So then we click and sample it and then turn the opacity back up to paint right over it if you want to, kind of blending these colors a little more. I don't actually like that much, so I'm going to take that away, and instead I'll add like a little line for a white highlight. I'm going to copy this color and bring it over here as well. And again, like this is where I would just lay down all the colors in this part of the process, and then I'll come back over and refine and say, oh, okay, yeah, the eye isn't matching very well. So let's get that looking a little more, making them look a little more similar, and that kind of will sample the colors and carve away and, you know, add and subtract until I get what I'm looking for. But right now I'm just kind of experimenting and playing with colors, so that's going to be the most important thing. Again, I would have been a little more neat to begin with this, taking my time if I was not doing a, if I wasn't making a video tutorial, and I would actually be focused a little more and, see, coming in here with the details and then say, all right, we went cool on the edges. What if we take the center color and we make it warmer, so more towards yellow, and then less saturated. So not moving over here to the right, moving up and to the left. Not enough contrast there, so I'm actually going to move up and to the left a little more. Cool. See, I kind of like that. That looks... So as the idea is that the sun is kind of a yellow color. So this can change if your light source is blue, like if someone has a blue light, then this will change where the brighter parts will be cooler and the darker parts will be warmer. But usually the light source is, or if the light source is white, pure white, is also cool. But if the light source is yellow, kind of that's what I default to, then when whatever is lighter will be more warm. So here, going more warm will be more towards the orange and a little bit lighter. And then I can use that as a highlight color for the hair. Okay, and then if I want to, then I want a shadow color for the hair. I'm going to take the main flat color of the hair, and I'm going to go cooler. I'm going to go darker and actually more saturated, so down and to the right. And I'm going to go cooler, which is going to be over here. Oops, which is going to be a little more of this towards the pinkish purple. And I can put that in the shadow areas. Actually, there should have been shadow. This whole back part can be in the shadows mostly. And you see how now we've created this kind of colorful, this colorful palette, this color scheme, but it's not like too crazy, too over the top. There's still some cohesion. And see, I'm going to take this darker green, I'm going to sample it, and I'm going to add it up here. So find places where you can reuse the same colors more than once. Maybe I'll take this green color in here, oops, and I will, can I add it to there? No, I don't like that. So I'm actually going to sample the yellow. I'm going to go more saturated, more cool, even a little more cool. Maybe add a little 3D vibe there. Okay. And then same with the skin tone. I feel like her skin tone might be a little saturated, so actually you could bring it down. Well, I'll leave it for now because I don't want to spend the extra time. But you can see like, okay, maybe this whole thing is looking a little too bright. So I might want to desaturate her skin tone so that the eyes and the hair pop out more. But for now, let's give her like some shadow. So going down and to the right and then making it a little bit cooler. And then, oh, that doesn't look right. So actually, let's make it instead, we'll go down and to the right and we'll make it a little bit warmer. It's kind of tricky. There we go. That looks a lot more natural. And I guess technically going to red and yellow both are warm colors, red and yellow. So when you get into that orange area, it's a little bit trickier. So red is actually probably cooler than yellow when it comes to the warm reds. I mean the oranges. And then let's do the same where we go, okay, we'll go the opposite direction. So now it should be more yellow because yes, the sun source is yellow. So obviously that's going to be warmer. But it was good to, and then also up and to the left, sorry, up and to the left. So something like that. Cool. And so you can see how doing this, you'll start to get, these color schemes, and then you can reuse most of these colors. But let's say I wanted to make the dress a completely different color. I probably wouldn't, like it would be cool to have like a purple robe for her. But now we're really getting into like, okay, there's so many crazy colors. If I'm going to choose purple, I'm going to make it really almost gray, just a little bit purple like that, see? So there's a slight purple tint to it, and I'll show you what it would look like if instead there's a slight red tint to it. You see these two colors look actually quite different, but they both read as gray. Unless you put them right next to each other, people are going to think, oh, that's gray. But if you take it out and you just put the purple, it feels like gray, but it has a little bit of that fun color scheme to it rather than just a flat gray. Which, see if you can see that side by side, it's not as fun. So instead, yeah, you can start to use these, and I use a flat gray on the outline because that's the most neutral part of it. But that too can change, because sometimes when I do the outline on its own layer, I'll come in and change that and see if I want to make it a different color towards the end of the process. But I like to start neutral because I want to feel free to choose any colors I want in the process. So let's kind of trying to carve out this body shape, but again, I'm not going to try to worry about getting it perfect while we're creating this video for tutorial purposes. So let's say that's the main color I chose. How is that vibing with the rest? Is it pulling your attention? If so, maybe go for a lighter color. That's what I would do here, because it seems like it's kind of competing for attention from her face. Maybe even less saturated. Now that's a little boring. I like it with a little more purple in there. But I actually probably wouldn't even have chosen purple in the first place. Maybe instead going for a variation of a desaturated red to kind of keep this color scheme. Let's see how that looks. Keeping with the warm vibes. But I really think you can choose almost any color and make it work, but then you're just going to want to bring some other colors in here. So what if I bring in the red from her hair and the belt? Nah. What if I bring in the green from her? Nah. What if I bring in this yellowish color? Nope, still not working. Instead, let's just choose a variation of this color, a little bit darker and a little more or less saturated. Cool. And you can see how just kind of going through this process, we're going to make it warmer and lighter, or warmer and darker. Or no, it should be cooler and darker, so that's actually the opposite. Here, let's go. And then more towards the blue. And, you know, bringing her skin tone is going to help pull this composition together a little more again. And then once you get to this point, you can continue to sample the colors that you've already created. Cool. In a minute, I'm just going to show you some final step that helps bring all the colors together. It's kind of a little bit of a, not cheating, but you know, like a secret special maneuver, easy way to get the colors to start coming together. So let's just kind of finish up the basics here. What will we do for the shoes? Let's see, we can we could choose a kind of another, again, desaturated color. Something like that might work. You see it's got a little bit, it's in the red area, so it's vibing with the hair. So we're bringing a little bit of this red down to the bottom. And it's even, we could give it a little trim like that on these. In fact, even, it might be too much to have the whole arms and stuff. But I think just a little bit of this red touching upon other areas can really kind of bring the whole color scheme together a little more. And then even using the skin tone potentially for the wand, instead of having a different color brown, just drawing upon that same skin tone. But I used the darker version of the skin tone, and then I'll do an even darker, bit warmer, more red for the shadow. Something like that. Okay, and I'm really bothered by the eyes not looking right and all that stuff. But again, this was like the very first block in step. So now I would come in and refine it. And really, like, even the iris looks like it's a little too far over. And just kind of work on it like this. And this is where it kind of gets fun. So you already have the color scheme, and you can just go ahead and refine. If I want to make the ears bigger, just draw the ear in the way that I want it to look. Then I come in and I choose the skin tone. And I color in the whole thing. And then I'm going to choose the shadow skin tone. And add some shadows. Use the line art skin tone, add the line art. And it's that simple to start to kind of sculpt your character at this point. It feels more like sculpting than drawing, which is really kind of fun and almost liberating in a way, which is something I really like. So I want to make this side a little bit wider. I come in here. If I want to move this flower, I can just select it, maybe make it bigger, something like that. I don't know how it's staying in her hair. Maybe we need to add a hair thing. So let's see. Here's a little test for you guys. Let's say a little challenge. What would be a good color for the hair? For this hair piece. So now I've drawn it in, and I'm going to add a color to it. How might I go about choosing a color that's still going to fit within this color scheme and kind of work with the rest of the composition as I've laid it out so far? I like that. So there isn't really yellow anywhere else, so now actually if I make that little middle part green, kind of looks better, I think. Okay, so what I would do, and of course there's no right or wrong answer, but I would first off choose a color that exists already in this palette somewhere. So maybe let's try bringing something from the bottom to the top, just like we brought some red from the top to the bottom. Let's bring some of this color from her dress up here. See how that looks. And yeah, I really think that starts to tie things together quite nicely. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and stick with that. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you the secret weapon. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. So the secret weapon is to create a new layer, set it over here to overlay, lower the opacity to maybe around 35, choose a really saturated color, and go to a soft brush. So with you can go with the ones that come with it. Airbrushing would be perfect. Make this really big, and then just go over the whole thing, and you can see how it really brightens things up. And then choose another color, blue. Okay, that's interesting. Let's go, what if we go from a red color to an orange color at the bottom? I don't like the orange, it's kind of washing out. What if I go with a cyan? Okay, in general I think this is washing things out too much. So what I'm going to do, what about a pink? Oh, the pink is nice. And actually I like the pink going into a cyan. Maybe something like that. And then let's lower this. So and see how it's kind of like a little bit washed out here? Let's just give it a little bit. Maybe 24%. How does that look? Let's get rid of the line sketch underneath. And now you're seeing like, okay, cool, we've got a different color scheme. And you can either leave it on top and just, when you go back to work on the colors, make sure it's unselected, or else you're going to start to select colors that you don't actually want. So let me go back to my original brush. So when I come back here, I want to select the colors. I'll show you what happens if you do it the other way. So you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I want to put a little more of the purple on the dress. I'm working on the dress. And if you look carefully, it's not quite the right color. That's because we've selected the color based upon this new layer on top. So if you want to do that, then either you can unselect it, or you can you can group these together, duplicate the group, make this one go away, and then flatten it. Oh, that's annoying. Is it always going to do that? Oh, maybe I do clipping mask here. Now let's try flatten it. Perfect. So we made a clipping mask, which you can do by just clicking on the layer above and then going here, clipping mask. And it'll make it so it doesn't like paint outside the line. And now it's all on one layer. So now I can come in here and select the color and color it in. But this will start to eliminate the smooth gradient that you got with that airbrush. So it actually might be better. I like to just paint it flat on the other thing and then come back and alter it with that overlay clipping mask layer. That's what I would prefer to do. But you can keep it simple on just one layer if you prefer. You can see how much of a difference that makes. Just that subtlety. And then don't forget to add a little shadow under her feet. So you can, just like a very light purple is usually what I use, a lightish desaturated purple. It's even too dark. A light thing. That's going to really help ground the character on the page. So it looks like she's standing in the loading room of the Matrix, basically. Which is better than floating in nowhere, I think. So cool. So I hope this was helpful, and yeah, has imbued you with just a little bit more pencil power. Yeah, it works.